According to Quantric Foundry, there are 6 main motivators as to why people play games. While some people who score high on the action scale might love games that are fast-paced shooters, others that score low on the action scale might prefer more laid-back simulation games. Here on Gaming Motivation, we try to take popular games and rate them so you know if they're a good fit for you. And if you want to know what motivates you to play video games, there's a link in the description so you can test yourself. Today we have A Hat in Time, a game that got a 6 out of 10 by Joey Thurman, but Joey also gave Lawbreakers an 8 out of 10 and the server shut down a year later, so I don't trust his judgment. Let's get right into it. To me, there's 2 different kinds of platformers. In one group, you have what I like to call the Nintendo platformers. The games here aren't too difficult. They're basically just relaxing jaunts through colorful worlds that are full of joy and happiness. In the other group, you have what I like to call the I swear to God if I miss that jump one more time I'm gonna murder someone platformers. These are the ones where you can lose tons of progress if you make one wrong move, or the ones where you have to make tons of precise jumps in a row, or ones where 90% of the level is just death. Now I want you to take a hard look at A Hat in Time and tell me which group it belongs in. If you said it's a Nintendo platformer, then you're right, kinda. As Hat Kid, your mission is to explore each of the 4 main worlds, collecting enough timepieces to make your way back home. There isn't a need to rush through most of the game. If you want, you can just sit around to either plan out your next move or just take a walk around to enjoy the scenery. The few levels that do require you to rush aren't too intense either. In one mission, you play as the leader of a parade, and at first it's relatively simple as long as you follow one rule. You can't stand still for too long or else your parade will run into you. As you run around the level, the game adds more and more obstacles for you to dodge, but the game does so slowly enough that it never feels too challenging. Before you know it, you're bouncing off the rooftops without a care in the world, and although there's a lot going on, it never feels overly stressful. In another level, you're riding on a train before you're suddenly thrust into a quite literal race against the clock to defuse a bomb before it blows up the train. This level's a little bit more stressful than the last one, especially since the music gets more intense with the less time you have, but there's enough extra time items placed around that makes this level pretty easy too. Even the missions on the creepiest map, the Subcon Forest, aren't too intense. Take this level for example. All you have to do is go into this nice lady's manor and get the timepiece from her attic, and she even left the door unlocked for you, so she's probably super excited to see. Oh my god, what is that? No. Aside from the random jump scare the game just threw in, A Hat in Time is a relaxing platformer that incorporates a few fast-paced missions without making them too stressful. I give the action a 2 out of 5. When it comes to multiplayer in video games, there's a massive difference in a game that has multiplayer and a game that encourages you to play multiplayer. Sometimes the difference is pretty explicit, like how in Portal 2 there's an entire campaign that you can only play in co-op. Some, however, are a lot more subtle, like in Magicka 2. The main gimmick of the game is combining spell schools to do different spells, and if you're by yourself, then you're able to cast normal spells like shooting a death beam at an enemy. But once you get another player in there, you can commit the Ghostbuster Cardinal Sin and cross the beams for explosive results. By adding another player, you're able to experience parts of these games that you never could on your own. The issue with A Hat in Time is that while the game gives you the ability to play multiplayer, the multiplayer doesn't enhance the experience at all. If you play locally with someone else, there's no timepieces that you can only get in multiplayer, there's no moves you can only do if you have a partner, nothing. However, if you buy the Yakuza Metro DLC on Steam, you gain access to the online party mode. With this, you can play online with up to 3 other strangers who can see you but can't affect you, or you can play with up to 49 other players if you use the same group name. This seems kinda pointless to me. I don't know why you'd want to play online with others if you can only see them, and I don't know why you would ever want to play online with 49 other players either. I give Social a 3 out of 5 since the game does have some form of multiplayer, although I wish there was any sort of incentive to buy the DLC and use these modes. There's basically 2 ways to play A Hat in Time. If you're playing the game as a casual player, then there isn't much here for you to master. You play through each level spontaneously, just reacting to whatever the game throws at you, and you aren't really taking any time to strategize. However, speedrunning is another story. Out of the 40 timepieces that are in the main game, and even more if you buy the DLC, you only need 25 to beat A Hat in Time. This means that there's a decent amount of strategy involved in trying to plan out the perfect route in order to beat the game as quickly as possible. You might have to play and beat a longer level if you want an ability, or so you can unlock other levels that will save you time overall. When it comes to how challenging the game is, a casual player should have no issues getting into the game. The controls are rather simple, and there's no real difficult bosses or complex moves to remember either. But if you buy the Seal the Deal DLC, you unlock a certain mode called Death Wish. This mode lets you go back and do some of the earlier levels with much harsher restrictions, which is a nice way to boost the replayability of the game. A Hat in Time simultaneously encourages casual players to take it easy while providing a more challenging experience for those who want to push themselves to be better at the game. Because of this, I'm going to give Mastery a 1 out of 5 since I feel like most of the players who play A Hat in Time will want a more casual experience. Just know that there is a decent amount of mastery potential here for people who want to challenge themselves. A Hat in Time is a collectathon, which means that, spoiler alert, there's a lot to collect. Each level is littered with little green orbs called pawns that you can collect and trade in for some badges, like this one that makes you die in one hit for some reason. You can also find yarn that you can then use to craft different hats that each have their own abilities. Some let you slow down time, some let you sprint, and others let you turn into an ice sculpture because why not? Each map also has tons of cosmetic collectibles like the relics that end up on display, and rift tokens that you can use to unlock various hats, color palettes, and song remixes that you can play on your ship. Plus, collecting items in this game is just so satisfying. Every time you pick up a piece of yarn or you pick up a timepiece, a cute little animation plays, which makes it feel much more impactful, even if it wasn't all that difficult to get. A Hat in Time also has a lot of Steam achievements that are completely missable unless you actively search them out, which definitely makes the game a lot more fun and interesting to play. I give achievement a 5 out of 5. I was surprised to learn that the story of A Hat in Time is a lot more in-depth than I initially thought. The overarching plot is pretty simple. You're looking for all your missing timepieces so you can power up your ship and go home. But each world has its own unique story that is perfectly blended into the gameplay. For example, the second world you visit is the Dead Bird Studio. Here you meet two rival directors, DJ Grooves and the Conductor, who are competing against each other to see who can make the better movie. After you make your way through the first level by traveling behind the scenes of all the different sets, accumulating various finds as you go, you eventually get offered/forced into the main role of each movie. From here, the world splits into two different sets of levels. If you're doing a movie for DJ Grooves, the theme is a lot more disco and the focus is on you. Your missions revolve around increasing your own popularity and leading a parade around while setting off pyrotechnics and taking photo ops with your adoring fans. However, if you're doing a movie for the Conductor, then you're stuck in the Wild West. These missions focus less on you and more on what's happening around you, like the aforementioned exploding train. Each mission you do really does feel like you're in a movie too. When you're running for your life, it really does feel like you're in danger because the sound design is so well done that it elicits true fear that you need to hurry up. When the credits roll after you beat a level, it really does feel like you were an integral part of making the movie since you get to see a little credits scene and the critics will actually rate your performance. At the end of the world, you even get to indirectly choose who wins the award for Best Director depending on who you earned more points for. And when you combine all this with the phenomenal graphics and the NPCs with pretty funny one-liners, I give the Immersion a 5 out of 5. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, the platformer game is perfect for creative players. There are tons of different hidden areas to explore, and there's tons of minor interactions that are really easy to miss if you don't go out of your way to find them. If you try and play patty cake with a Mafia member, they'll play with you for a couple of seconds before punching you and actually hurting you. If you swing off a noose, you'll hear it trying to convince you to hang yourself, which is pretty dark.
I wouldn't mind being strapped around a cute neck like yours.
The game also rewards you when you go out of your way to find creative ways to solve your problems. For example, on this boss fight, you're supposed to run around and dodge the barrels. But if you're a pro gamer like me, you don't even need to move. There's also a decent amount of customization options in the different dyes and hats you can find and wear throughout the game, which further incentivizes you to explore each world as much as you can. I also love the fact that if you want to pass one of these levels, you have to get your own picture taken and then edited it for a passport that gets used as your game's save profile picture. Oops, how did that get in there? For a platforming game, there's an impressive amount of hidden interactions here and a lot of ways to design your own character. I give creativity a 5 out of 5. I think A Hat in Time is one of my favorite platformers due to how relaxing and unique the gameplay is. If you want an immersive world that is mostly slower platforming with a few fast-paced levels, A Hat in Time is perfect for you. Just don't get too excited for the multiplayer since it doesn't add much to the experience in my opinion. In terms of match rate, there's a lot of content here whether you're a casual player or you're someone who likes a bit of a challenge provided you're willing to buy the DLC. There's also a lot to collect and a lot to discover, which is perfect for players who want to complete everything a game has to offer. In the end, A Hat in Time is a cute as heck game that I would highly recommend to anybody who is interested in platformers. Anyway, I hope to see you guys again next time. Peace out.